Sensation is physiology. It's just there's enough cells doing the same thing at the same time that we feel sensation. The sensation can be generated purely from the mind, so then it's already caught. I call my work that I do with individuals body-mind consultation. Intrinsic health looks like really going so deeply into your present experience that you contact your innate health. Embodiment practice is learning to feel as much of your body as you want to in any particular moment of practice, and eventually results in being able to receive more into your body. We have to just, help every person that wants our help, and love every person that crosses our path, and love ourselves.
Hi, Susan. It's so nice to be here with you.
I'm so excited to do this with you. We haven't had a conversation in, I think, a year and a half, probably. I don't know.
Yeah. And we're talking to Arielle Schwartz, mentioning days when she started, when you were her teacher at Naropa.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell listeners, you're the most unusual presenter we had in our studio. You were the first one that not only had no notes, you had no slides. Like, you were so in the moment. Ace and I were so blown away. Like, is this going to work? And then I don't know how you do that. Like, I have such a wandering mind. Like, I need slides. I need words. So I'll just start. How do you do that? Is it just all those years of teaching?
Well, I'm very dysregulated today. So that almost made me cry just that you asked that question.
No, it was so concise, and you had a pathway. You both had presence and you had direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a very unusual brain. It's so popular to say that you're neuroatypical. And I don't fit any categories of neuroatypicality, but I have a very unusual brain, and it's able to flow, and I've cultivated flow through my whole career with the body. It's all about flow. And all I care about in my teaching now is core flow. Just, that's my main thing that I teach these days is core flow. I have a tremendous ability to, on a neurological level, I can associate, really quickly and multidirectionally. And I can articulate it, and that I've practiced both. I've practiced the articulation and I've practiced the flow, but they've always been there. It's always been innate. And I've always been, I've been always a very strange person. I've never fit in easily anywhere. So I guess that's the short answer. I both learned it and it's innate.
That's awesome. And at least in Boulder, you're just so well known for starting the somatic program at Naropa University.
Well, that's a political matter of debate.
Well, you were very influential. And
I think it's inarguable that I was the founding director of the Body Psychotherapy Master's Program within the somatic psychology department. So initially, Christine Caldwell was working to start the dance therapy program at Naropa. This is 1984. And I had 90% of a dance therapy master's when I moved to Boulder from NYU. And so she immediately recruited me, and we worked together. Then we started that program opened in 1984, and I taught in it a lot from 84 to 90. And then the last couple years, body psychotherapy was starting to grow. So 88 to 90. And in my memory, which is arguable, I went to Christine and I said, look, all we have to do is add this, this, this. Then we have 2 programs, 1 department. And, you know, it's going to appeal to a lot of people that don't want to do dance therapy. Dance therapy is a dying modality. It's self-restrictive to the point of, you know, suicidality. And, but it's limping along. And so we did. So in 1990, we opened, I'm saying, which is arguable, we opened the Body Psychotherapy program. I was the director. And I directed that program from 1990 to 1999. At which point, I would like to say publicly, I left very voluntarily because there's some political controversy around that. And that is documented, you know, and verifiable. And yeah, so it was an amazing experience for all of us. It was incredible. And Ariel was there.
Ariel Schwartz.
Yeah, Ariel Schwartz was there. She was a student starting in probably like 96, maybe, I don't know, 95, went through the whole program. She was my TA for at least a couple years, I believe. Yeah, we had a lot of fun, and there's some incredible people that came out of that program that are doing amazing work and have helped the world a lot. And there's still interesting things happening over there. I just had a group of 4 of them, incredible people that just graduated from that program.
Congrats that it's still going on 26 years later after you left. Like it's a good baby to give birth to. Yeah. So Susan, right before we got on, you just talked about your evolution with mind-body psychotherapy.
Body mind. Very important to me because
it was a dyslexic mistake. My brain said body mind.
Yeah, but everybody says mind body because we're steeped in mind body, top down. Yeah. And that's why it's so important to me that it's body mind. That's one reason. And the other reason is to honor my great mentor, Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen, whose work is body mind centering. So much of body mind psychotherapy is derived from body mind centering. It's an application of body mind centering to psychotherapy.
So usually we like going linear, you know, where were you born? What's your traumas as a 3-year-old?
Yeah, I suck at going linear, and you don't have to edit that out.
I'm such a worry person myself. So
I'm glad to go linear if you want.
I'd love to hear your evolution of how you see body-mind psychotherapy, and then you've been talking to your students, and you have an update. So I would love you to talk about that.
What's current for me right now is I'm updating body-mind psychotherapy. I'm calling it Body-Mind Psychotherapy 3.0. And there's really been, you know, because I have 3 books, I'll just show them.
And we'll put links to all of them.
Yeah, but I like to show them just because.
No, please do.
Yeah, Natural Intelligence was the first book that came out. So that was all the years at Naropa. And I was giving the students drafts of this book. Natural Intelligence, the body-mind integration and human development. So that was Body-Mind Psychotherapy 1.0. And then my second book, Body-Mind Psychotherapy, Principles, Techniques, and Practical Applications. And then the last book that came out 2021, Heart Open, Body Awake, 4 Steps to Embodied Spirituality. And this is Shambhala, and they also let me collaborate on the cover. And so it's It's a loose rendering of the phrase rainbow body.
Okay.
So it's a rainbow and then in a torso shape.
Do you want to explain what a rainbow body is?
Rainbow body is a concept from Tibetan Buddhism, Nyingma, Dzogchen, Tibetan Buddhism, and it's misinterpreted often. Most people don't understand the literal meaning from that tradition. But it's basically when our body transforms into space, into emptiness, into a magical form. So in the traditional sense, that happens while you're still alive, before you die. And that's when magic supposedly happens. So at that point, you can walk through walls, you can fly, you can, you're a magical being in a body. And so as you can imagine, I love that concept.
Of course.
And also, those practices are near and dear to my heart as well.
And for people who think it's really woo-woo, University of
It is really woo-woo.
And at the same time, University of Wisconsin-Madison has been putting electrodes and doing studies in Nepal of great Tibetan masters as they die and what remains. It's an impossible study because the mind is empty. So how can you figure out where the mind is? But they're at it. It's been going on for a couple of years, and there's a documentary about that.
Oh, I'd like to watch it. I'm not aware of it. It's both woo-woo and it's not woo-woo. And I just told it as I have no idea. I don't ever expect to achieve a rainbow body in this lifetime, but who knows? Anything could happen. And have I ever met anybody that's achieved a rainbow body? I'm 99% sure I have not, because of all the great spiritual teachers I've been around. The greatest one literally wrote in his biography, I think I might be achieving rainbow body. And then later he realized, no, I wasn't. So, and it was close to when he died too. So I know, that I probably haven't ever met anybody.
Just rumor has it.
Who knows? Quien sabe?
Your books sound really valuable.
Intrinsic Health, Joining Heaven and Earth. That's another title that I'm developing. Maybe a book. I promised myself I wouldn't write another book, but it would be really similar to the last book, but a little clearer, I would hope. But also I'm going to start teaching under that title. And then the last one that I just started working on today, so it's tender in my heart, Mountain Sky, the intersection between body, psychology, and spirituality. So I just wanted to name my new babies that are gestating, that have been conceived but have not been born and may never be born because I'm old and tired and way too busy.
So tell me about your evolution of 3.0. Like, what are you thinking?
Okay, so 3.0. So the first book, Body-Mind Integration and Human Development. And that's the most body-mind centering approach applied to psychotherapy. So body-mind centering studies early motor development. So we went through stages in early motor development, and then it also studies experiential anatomy. So we went through all the body systems in that book. I do it in all three books, but in that book, we did it most experientially. Then the second book, Body Psychotherapy, was more of a formal psychotherapy book. Norton was really working on this series in somatic psychology, and they wanted, this to be like a definitive book on body mind psychotherapy, and they pushed me hard. And I'm glad. I think that it's a better book because of it. But, the principles, I wasn't going to do principles. I do principles in the first book. I did more principles in the second book that were more psychotherapeutically oriented. I did history of body psychotherapy just quickly, but they needed that. I explicated practical applications in the most concrete way that I ever will, that I ever had and I ever will. So I talked about the difference between emotional wounding and trauma. I talked about how to work from a somatic point of view, where you distinguish between when the client needs to feel something, when they need to do something, when they need to think something, and when they need to hear something.
A lot of distinctions there.
A lot of distinctions. Yeah, and it can be very helpful for people. Of course, nobody reads anymore. So for people that read and are learning to do psychotherapy, or want, that want to learn more about body psychotherapy, it can be very helpful. But, sadly, most people don't read anymore. So that was 2.0 when that came out. So in that book, what I introduced was something I call circular attunement, and what I used to call the interaction cycle, and what I'm changing to the manifestation cycle. So circular attunement is that we're attuning with our whole bodies, and it's circular. So I see you, Brian, and your image is coming into me, and it's moving through my whole body, and it's mixing with everything that was already moving through me. Mm-hmm. And when you speak, I hear you. If I'm present and circularly attuning, I hear you, and it comes into me and sequences through my whole body. And, so there's like a million different circles happening all the time within me and between humans. So that's circular attunement. And it's really part of the interaction cycle, because again, I was training people to work with other people. Mm-hmm. So the interaction cycle is just helping people, you start with your own embodiment, circular attunement, really get it going. And then you help people think about what they're really wanting right now. So let's do this together, all the listeners, because it doesn't take much longer to do it than to say it. So feel your body, feel your heart in particular. Good. Part your lips, drop your chin a little bit, open up your tail and your rectum, your anus, and get some flow going up and down your spine. I'm saying this to Brian, but, most of us need these directions, but I wouldn't say it to somebody that couldn't handle hearing this kind of direction, which most people cannot from a stranger. But I'm assuming your listeners can handle it. So, okay, so clear your spine, get a lot of circles going, a lot of circulation from your being out into the world, and connecting with the larger universe and whomever if you're doing an interaction cycle, then whomever you're working with. But now I've changed it to what I call a manifestation cycle, because it's really important to do it with yourself. So let's do it with ourselves this time. Still get as much circulation with the larger world going as possible. So essentially, we are part of this earth. We are part of this universe. We are part of this solar system. However large your mind wants to get, you're part of the room you're in. You're mingling with the air in the room. You're mingling chemically with all of the objects in the air in your room. Beautiful, Brian. Yeah. So you can see Brian's eyes are really open, and he's really letting the visual world just effortlessly come in and fill him. And he's open to this idea that he's part of the universe. So whatever works for you, listeners, at this moment, connect to your world, however it feels right. Good, great. And then from there, think about, what am I wanting in my life right now? What do I want more than anything in the world in my life right now? What's my next step? I'm throwing out a lot of questions, and this is what I encourage you to do as you're doing a manifestation cycle, or if you're doing it with someone else, just feel what their questions are. But you don't have to answer them all. Just feel what question sparks you and you go, oh, this is what I want right now. And then feel it. And feel it with your whole being. Feel it with as much of your body as you can feel it with. Try to feel it all the way down into your lower body if you tend to lose your lower body. So Brian, you could roll your shoulders back and down a little bit more. Good. You could, and you lean forward as you said that, so that will naturally open up your tail and your lower spine and create more flow through the spine, skull, head, energy center. Yeah, good, beautiful. And so I'm saying that so the listeners can go back and look at Brian before he did that and after he did that. And then you can feel, what do I need to do? And you might not have an answer for that, but over time, and maybe you need help developing that experience, and there is help to be gotten. But over time, you'll find it and it will make sense. So coming back to your desire, what are you really wanting in your life right now? Feel it, breathe it, let it diffuse through your blood. Let it float through your whole being. Let it permeate every cell in your body. And feel what changes in you and what you were limiting in yourself or holding on to in yourself that you need to let go of. Yeah, good. Part your lips, Brian, again. Let your chin drop a half an inch, maybe a quarter. Gently, though, gently. Find the right head position for you. Good. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, and now feel, oh, perhaps I have that thing I wanted. Perhaps just by stating my desire and feeling it permeate my body, I've shifted toward, if not having it now, but toward the ability to manifest it more easily. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's BMP 2.0. Now BMP 3.0, 2021, this book came out. I thought I was coming out of the closet with my spirituality. I thought that I had this like professional firewall and I was like, really working. I mean, it's bad enough to integrate the body in psychotherapy. So I was working hard to appear to be there's a word, responsible,
professional,
clinician, academic, professional, and not say anything about spirituality or be woo-woo in any way. And I thought it was coming out of the closet. And I did it in a very sober, restrained manner in this book, but I did it. And then I've been teaching embodied spirituality, embodied meditation, and letting those things integrate into body-mind psychotherapy more and more. So that's BMP 3.0. And that's one dimension. I'll say the other dimension in a minute. But what I found out when the book came out, when I've said I'm coming out of the closet, everybody said to me, this is who you've always been, So I wasn't fooling anybody, but maybe I was, the people who didn't need to be fooled, weren't fooled. But the people that, well, there were people who still when the second book came out, it was too woo-woo for the psychiatric, non-somatic, psychological world. And they rejected me. And one of my colleagues who has worked very hard to integrate into that world and did so beautifully and successfully, and it worked for her. Their big objection was, you can't feel the body systems. You can't observe the body systems. And I'm like, yes, you can, and I can teach you. And I did it a little bit like Alan Shore, if you remember him, Brian, or, sure, your listeners, some of them will remember him when his big book, his first book came out. It's about interactive psychobiological regulators. And he believed at the beginning that you can't teach or learn interactive psychobiological regulating. And I said, oh, you can. Yeah, you totally can. And so we did one probably 2-hour presentation together that I called, which I thought was hilarious, but he never laughed. I don't know if anybody thought it was funny but me. I called it How to Be an Interactive Psychobiological Regulator. And we had that debate on stage as part of that. And I felt like I made a little dent in his belief that you couldn't learn how to do it or it couldn't be taught, but not enough that he wanted to pursue it in any way or continue our dialogue. But yeah, I was way too experiential for those guys, and they were all men. And my friend that successfully integrated with all of them, she said, just don't say this, don't say, feel this body system or observe this body system. I said, I can't not do that. That's who I am. That's essential to my work. And so, I didn't stop saying it, and they, I don't know what they think of me. They're friendly when our paths cross, but they certainly have not reached out since then. So that was 2.0. And then this is 3.0. I'm out of the closet spiritually, and I'm integrating spirituality into body-mind psychotherapy. And Brian, I was so excited to see that you're looking at the intersection. And so many of the people that you invite, are very interested in that intersection. And then the other aspect for me in BMP 3.0 is I feel like we're in trouble. Our planet's in trouble. Our species is in trouble. And we need to just help each other as best we can in every way that we can. And we don't have time to worry about licensure, degrees, and credentials anymore. We have to just help every person that wants our help, and love every person that crosses our path, and love ourselves, and just be humble and kind and loving and intimate as we're willing to be, and as intimate as we're able to be, and as intimate as the people whose paths we cross want us to be.
Mm-hmm.
Which for some people is not intimate at all. But anyway, I did my first BMP 3.0 workshop in the spring. And I was telling the students, I don't know, I kind of thought I should change the name, but now I'm trying this BMP 3.0. But I don't think I should use psychotherapy anymore because, I'm not wanting it to necessarily be psychotherapy. I'm glad to teach psychotherapists to integrate BMP into their work, but I'm now teaching people that are unlicensed. I've always taught, a variety of people that weren't necessarily mental health professionals. And what I offer them is certification as an embodiment coach, or just to say that they've completed the BMP training. But I still, I'll still certify people as body-mind psychotherapists that are licensed in some mental health disciplines. So that's BMP 3.0, and that's what I'm excited about right now. And, as you can see, my mind goes in a lot of directions at once. I'm developing courses in intrinsic health.
What does that look like, Susan?
Intrinsic health. Mm-hmm. Intrinsic health looks like really going so deeply into your present experience that you contact your innate health. Mm. And it doesn't mean if you're suffering from a, very serious condition, which I have suffered from many in my life, it doesn't mean it's going to fix you necessarily. But it will optimize, as Richie Davidson has taught us, it will optimize the hell out of your immune system. It will optimize the hell out of your nervous system. It will optimize your behavior. I think just those three. I can't think of any. I mean, everything will be happier. Every function in your body. Your cardiac, respiratory. Yeah, it will just optimize everything. So, and it's nothing new, Brian. You know what intrinsic health is. You've experienced it. Yeah.
And so much of disease is thoughts, like early experiments, like a headache. If you just relax enough, 50%, maybe 75% just goes away because you kind of have conceptual thoughts.
And the whole central nervous system pain thing. I just read yet another great article by an MD on that. And the placebo.
It's the John Kabat-Zinn early work.
No, right? No.
I mean, the early work on pain.
Yeah, but I don't think he ever talked about central nervous system pain. It's a new term since his early work. I don't know who cultivated that phrase, central nervous system pain. But anyway, they're just learning and growing all the time. And the placebo effect, which we've known about since the 50s or the 60s, it's all the same. That's intrinsic health, just supporting yourself and others to go there as much as possible, as frequently as possible, as deeply as possible.
You've covered so much ground here. So just going back, I've got two questions here. What advice would you give to therapists who feel hesitant about bringing body-based practices into their clinical work? And then question B would be, and then how do you work with a client that is, I don't know, resistance is the right word, but clueless about body-based?
Or fearful. Yeah, I think fearful is a good word.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are super fearful.
Hesitation.
Yeah.
And I would assume what you said before, like people attracted to you, like I can't see even when you're 25 years old, your spiritual dimension was already there for people attracted to you when you were teaching. I mean, maybe you were catching up to what the world knew about you and were attracted to you at Naropa and other places.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I started meditating when I was 16. I started doing yoga when I was 18, no, 17 probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
17. So yeah, I was an artist initially, and, my art was very nature based. I was a dancer and a musician a little bit. I was a hippie. I was, doing a lot of drugs and,
So how does
and
a therapist jump that into a body-based practice in their clinic? Like where would they begin?
well, what I'm seeing is that most people have started, and most people are asking their clients, how does that feel in your body right now? So if you're not doing that, do it. And if you don't add right now, add right now. So let me ask you a question, like, I think Yalom used to say, what's ailing you? So if I say, what's ailing you? And you think, what's ailing me? And you can feel intrinsic disease when you ask yourself that question. Feel what happens in your body. I feel immediately just like, oh, fuck. Yeah. So what's ailing you? And you feel it in your body. So then ask your client, how does that feel in your body right now, to think about what's hurting you, what's ailing you, this disease, this, issue in your life. That's the negative side of the interaction cycle or the manifestation cycle. Then go to the manifestation cycle. Okay, do it with whatever you just thought of, whatever bad, yucky thing, what's ailing you. I'm going to do it for myself. What do you want around that challenge in your life right now? So that's an interaction cycle question. Yeah, just feel it in your body. What do you want? Let's take another minute here. What do you want around that challenge in your life right now? And feel what happens in your body when you ask yourself the positive question, the going toward question, what you want to manifest question. So I hope that's a good, quick answer to your question, Brian, of how do people go about integrating. And yeah, I've got a full training online on my website that is available for really cheap. Brian, you've got a great introductory class with me on your website.
Yeah.
For some people, they're not ready to do what's on my website. So then go to Brian's website and get that.
We have a really in-depth course.
Yeah. And then if you're ready, come back to my website and, get that. And I do teach and, online and in person a little bit. And, so you can access more there or through the books. And then now to go to Brian's second question, which was clients. Maybe I answered both.
You kind of answered that, right?
Yeah, I think I kind of did both at the same time, didn't I?
Yeah, I think you'd want to practice on yourself.
Oh, but it was the fearful, though, fearful of the body.
Yeah.
I met with somebody today. I don't really do psychotherapy anymore. I call my work that I do with individuals body-mind consultation. And I met with somebody today that I think I've been working with for maybe 6 years. This person had a gnarly trauma history, very gnarly. infant through young adulthood trauma. And they're a psychotherapist, and they've worked through enormous quantities of stuff. When they came to me, they had done so much work. They were a successful psychotherapist. Shaman, smart, like they have a lot going for them. But they were highly dissociative when they came to me 6 years ago. And it was like Swiss cheese. You know how, like, Swiss cheese has these big holes in it, but bigger holes, more dissociative than Swiss cheese has holes, so they'd be super present, super with it. And then like, whoa, where'd you go? And, but so functional, able to, function at a pretty high level. I didn't even mention the body for, I don't know, maybe a year. But what I did was I was just present, and I'm doing my circular attunement. I'm going wherever they wanted to go. I'm just learning about their being, their nervous system. It took us a while to get to a full trauma history. And I go super slow with trauma histories so that we're really healing as we go. And they've done a lot of healing. And then slowly I started mentioning just a little bit of body stuff, very similar to what I said to you, Brian, just generic stuff like clear your spine, feel your heart. Then it probably took a few years to get her to start to work with her jaw and her head position. She couldn't feel her heart for years. She couldn't feel her heart. She goes, I don't feel anything there. And I'd say, okay, but it's there. Breathe into it. Put your hand on it. It'll come when it's ready. And then she is now in her first healthy sexual relationship. And she said to me literally today, we did some body stuff, and I said, okay, what do you want to do now? You need a break. Like, that was a lot. And she said, no, I want to do more body stuff. I'm hungry for it, quote unquote. I'm hungry for it. She can't really exercise yet. She doesn't eat properly, but enough to stay alive. But she's had some major health issues that she can't regulate yet. And so we just did, again, really similar stuff, core flow, clearing the spine, breathing, touching her pelvis, touching her heart, touching her jaw, talking. She said, I feel like my pelvis needs a lot of attention. And I said, yeah, I agree. And you're getting a lot of attention in your pelvis with this relationship. And she laughed and she said, yeah, I am, but I feel like I need, focused healing. And so we talked about how her partner could help her, with non-sexual touch. And I'd sent her in the past, I reminded her, I sent her to somebody who does table work and psychological table work, body worker and psychotherapist. And I said, remember, like you can relate to that. She said, well, I can do cranial sacral. And I said, yeah, but you needed to do it with somebody who loves you and understands your psychological issues. And I said, I'll do it with you anytime, if and when you're ready. And she's, she had a, what's the word? Ambivalent answer to that. So she knows. I said, just know whenever you're ready. She said, well, how will I know I'm ready? I said, just feel like when you feel like, I want Susan to put her hands on my body. It took 5 years for us to hug. 5 years. And I started doing air hugs during the pandemic, and she couldn't even do an air hug. So she's just, I think we've hugged 4 times. You know, I am the second most important person in her life. And we've hugged 4 times. Well, no, maybe fourth most important. So
I think that's a big lesson, not to force and follow the flow, organic.
And for the therapist, you know, you cultivate your own embodiment, your own sensory awareness, your own core flow, your own relaxation with your own body. And then you'll be able to feel, I don't think this person's ready for it. But don't worry. Don't say, oh, I can't feel whether they're ready for it or not, so I shouldn't say anything. Always ask, you know, how does that feel in your body right now? And if you get an uncomfortable answer, then stop saying the word body. Then say, how does that feel right now?
You know, for me, your story brought up a question of how do you balance, or how do you work with, my hunch is you have incredible intuition, skills, and presence. Like, how do those 3 work for you? Like, how do you,
well,
like, they seem totally merge, but if I put it apart.
What I want to tell your audience is my intuition has grown, there's a word, exponentially, since I've been working with the body. Now, I realize now that I invented embodiment practice when I was 17. I didn't know that I was inventing embodiment practice then, but I was. So I've been working with it since I was 17. So that's over 50 years now. And Candace Pert, do you remember Candace Pert?
What did she write?
She was at Hopkins, and then she wrote a best-selling book.
Molecules of Emotions.
Molecules of Emotion. Holy shit, that book rocked the world. And she told us with that book, and I brought her to Boulder to teach. And she said, so that was the advent of psychoneuroimmunology.
Yeah.
And she was right in there, psychoneuroimmunology. Your psychology, your nervous system, and your immune system are inseparably linked. She said every cell in the body, and she documented the hell out of this, has, it's in my first book, Miles Hercomham. Miles Hercomham, I can't remember if he's a neuroscientist or a cellular biologist or both. So I brought Candace here to Boulder in the 90s sometime. And Miles Hercomham taught, and she told me, I never met the guy, that 98% of what we call cognition, I'm going to repeat that, 98% of what we call cognition occurs outside of the brain.
That's crazy compared to what we think.
And it's true. I believe it's true. There are many scientists that would argue with it, but you know, I'm sticking to that story. And these are, you know, Johns Hopkins and NIH. I mean, give me a break. If you don't believe them, who are you going to believe? I mean, she's dead. I don't know what happened to him. He was never famous. They could argue it with the people that didn't believe it, but I can't. But anyway, so in embodiment practice, which is central to everything I do, you are just feeling all the sensations in your body. You're giving them permission to move, to breathe, to sound, to feel, to express, to speak. And letting that move through, all the way through your whole body. And then it loops back around, and all of those parts of your body are able to receive from the world around us. You know, we can call it electrically receiving, we could call it electromagnetically receiving information, chemical information. We receive a lot chemically from when we're in the room with somebody. It, you know, they exude it out their skin, it comes in our skin. That's why women get the same menstrual cycle when they, you know, are around each other sometimes. You know, what do you call it? Pheromones. There are many ways where it's documented that we're chemically interacting with people. So, and electrically and electromagnetically. So those are all documented scientifically. It's not woo-woo science. So embodiment practice is learning to feel as much of your body as you want to in any particular moment of practice, and eventually results in being able to receive more into your body, however that happens. And that, I think, has cultivated my intuition beyond what it might have innately been, you know, but since I was a child when I started working with it, you know, who knows? But I can look at my parents and my sibling and say, okay, I've got a lot more intuition going, you know, even though they're highly intuitive people, or were highly intuitive people. But yeah.
Thank you for that answer.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the Buddhist tradition, they'll say feelings self-liberate on their own. Would you also say sensations self-liberate? I mean, maybe you have a bad pain and it comes back, but in the moment it will self-liberate.
Well, the sensation doesn't get caught. The sensation is generated, and this is all in the BMP book. The sensation can be generated purely from the mind. So then it's already caught, right?
Like you feel a tick on your neck, but there's no tick.
Yeah, like I'm like, oh, that guy doesn't like me. Oh, that guy's being mean to me, you know. Then it's in my body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I have a little bit of pain and I freak the fuck, I'm putting my hands on my teeth because I had 2 crowns in May. And it took me, I've still got a little pain. So what are we, September? But that's not because it's central nervous system pain. It's much more complicated than that. And I'm just ridiculously highly sensitive. So, but nonetheless, you know, we feel some pain and we catch on to it and we go, oh shit, I feel pain. Oh shit, I feel pain. And we freak the fuck out and then the pain persists. So that's central nervous system pain, or a dimension of that. So the sensation can be generated from the top down and go into the body, or the sensation can arise in the physiology. Sensation is physiology. It's just there's enough cells doing the same thing at the same time that we feel sensation. And then, you know, there's a distinction that needs to be made between sensation itself really is coming in sensory nerves. But there are other, I call them sensations, that are more global, that come from fluid movement and tissue pressure.
Yeah.
Sensation is the least conditioned, habituated process in the body that we can contact. So sensation, impulse, feeling, thought Like sensation is the least conditioned of those. And yes, sensation can be caught, but by nature, the physiology is just going to run free if our thoughts don't fuck with it.
Yeah.
And, I know I'm cursing a lot, so I apologize to my listeners if I'm offending you.
We'll just beep the whole thing. Beep, beep.
Really? Will you do that?
No.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
Okay. So I don't know. I can't remember the question, Brian. Thought.
I think you answered it.
Sensation self-liberate. Yes, much more easily than thought self-liberates.
That's a whole practice.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful practice and it's essential, but takes a lot of time to learn it. So
I was going to wrap up, but I have a question for you. Because I know one of the teachers you study with, in the sense that thoughts will self-liberate, but as a therapist, we don't think that's really going to happen. So we're full of antidotes. We have such a big medicine chest to work with attachment issues, PTSD. How do you merge your spiritual world, knowing from an absolute sense, like thoughts aren't really real. They have no beginning, no end. They're empty, but they fucking can drive us crazy. And we have this great drugstore in the relative world working with our, whatever childhood issues later. Could be incest, rape, whatever, the world's a mess.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the field is self-correcting a bit there in terms of, post-traumatic resilience and, trauma and spirituality, intersection. I feel like those are relatively crude and clumsy corrections of that issue. But nonetheless, we're trying. And what I do is I just do what I said before. I'm doing my own core flow. I'm doing my own embodiment practice. I hear you that you're obsessing about your mother, and I feel so this goes back to what's in the Body Mind Psychotherapy book, my second book, distinguishing between when the client needs to feel something, when they need to do something, when they need to hear something. That's all I can remember right now. Think, and when they need to think something. And so, very gently, I will just say, honey, I call people honey a lot now. Now that I'm out of the closet, I'm out of every closet, but really it's probably I'm just getting so old. My inhibitions are weakening. I'll just say something like, honey, I wonder if it would be more helpful right now to think about what you want to create in your life. So I'll go back to the interaction cycle or the manifestation cycle, whatever you want to call it, and say, what is it you're really wanting about your mom right now? In a perfect world, if you could, maybe your mom's dead. If you could communicate to your mom right now, what would you say? What would you do? And just change the narrative that way.
Which creates a whole new reality, right?
Yeah. Eventually, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for so many great thoughts. I had like 20 questions and I think we meandered and without even asking. I keep looking back. Was there something I missed? No, I think we covered that. No, I think, and you're so in the flow. I almost feel stupid thinking of questions, but
go for it.
What do you think of the future of therapy with embodiment, and what do you think is going to play out, and your inspiration to like, we're headed for a shitstorm. We need to do everything, whether you're a therapist or not a therapist, you're a coach or you're a human, you have children, you have community, like We got to keep this boat afloat.
Yeah. 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 Well, that's mostly what I think is that. If I think about psychotherapy as a field, I'm not that interested in what happens. I'm interested in all the individuals involved.
Yeah.
I want people to be comfortable and feel safe and make a decent living and survive and enjoy their work. I'm sick of the field.
Hmm.
The field is moving too slow. It's way too uptight. It's missing opportunities left and right.
Are you talking about the training institutions, the APA and
I'm
certification?
talking about the whole schlemiel, just the whole field of psychology.
I know Bessel van der Kolk said, he wrote The Body Keeps the Score in 92, and he held it for 10 years. He couldn't release it. Like nobody would read it.
Oh, really? I never heard that story. Wow.
He
And
didn't publish.
now it's been a bestseller for 10 years, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's right around when I met Bessel. I think Bessel and I first met in maybe 95, maybe 96 at a conference. And then I brought him here the next year. And I mean, I love Bessel and he's contributed so much. And he wasn't open to me or to what I was doing. So that was really our last professional. We had those two interactions and, we're still friendly when our paths cross, but our paths cross less and less. But I know Linda Tai, who is so creative. I mean, I haven't met her, but I know of her through you. And, she's just so creative and loving and present and cool in every way. She came up through Bessel's organization and, so she is not a stick in the mud, at all.
Thank you. I can't wait to see what you manifest. I hope we can do something together on the intersection of psychotherapy, spirituality, and social change.
And the body and nature.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I love talking to you. I've missed you. I always love talking to you. So,
yeah.
and yeah. Okay. Be well. Thank you, everybody, audience, for listening to this.